Good afternoon, dear students. Welcome back to our computer programming next class. The previous class we already discussed about types of programming language and which are the different types of high-level programming language, that is procedural oriented and object oriented programming. We already seen that is. So today we are going to learn more about object oriented programming concept. So the previous classes we already explained or discussed what do you mean by object oriented programming, how we are going to write object oriented programming programs, computer programs and all. So today we are discussing about the major concept of object oriented programming language. So different types of object oriented programming languages are available nowadays. For example, high level programming, most of the high level programming language will be object oriented method only. But nowadays it's available. So which are the available programming language we can see. So one is a C++ programming language. The previous class we already explained how it will be. And Java programming, different versions of Java programming language, Visual Basic, .NET. So many object-oriented based programming languages are there. But we already informed. This year we are studying Java programming. So Java is a complete object-oriented programming language. So we can come back our topic, the major concept of object-oriented programming. So in the object-oriented programming language there are two concepts will be. The first will be class and second will be object. That is the major two key points or major concept. So this classes and object, that is a very familiar words. So that we already know in the real life we are every time we are seeing objects, this object, that object and the classes. So that is a day-to-day life it's we are seeing or we are hearing that words. Then in the programming language, what is the role of classes and object? That we can see how it will be, how the class will be working. So what the use of class, how we are using the class concept in the programming language, and what is the role of object concept. So that and what we are explaining today. So we can come to the class. So here already mentioned a class. A class defines the common properties of object, isn't it? So a class defines the common properties of object. Then common, what do you mean by common properties? So commonly what we are seeing, that is a common properties, isn't it? So with example I'll explain how the class will be working or what is the class. A class, so in the schools, when we are in the school, school is a building. Okay, inside the building what are the things we are seeing? So previous class we are already explained different department how we are developing the software. So one brief explanation already has given. Okay, so here we are going to explain through only the object oriented method how the programming will be going through, the class concept, how it will be working. So we can see. So when you are in the school, so what are the first or major part we are seeing? Different classes are there, isn't it? So what is the speciality of the class? So from 3-4 floors are there. Each floor is having number of classes are there. So when we are come inside the class, what we can see? Number of students are there. These number of students will be in a, they are having the common properties and they are having the separate property. So that means common category. For example, name, roll number. So that and all we can consider as a common category, isn't it? So different students is having different name and roll number, but they are in a one group that is called as student, isn't it? So when we are considering student individually, that will be a separate category. Each student is having their own identification, numbers will be there, names will be there, so whatsoever. Okay, so that is a group. So this whole group of students we are considering as a class. That means one class is having teachers are there, students are there, tables, benches, shelves. So what are the things we are seeing inside the classroom? So this whole combination is known as a class. Understood? So teacher, that we are considering a teacher, each period different teachers are coming. They are handling different subjects. But said teacher, like students. So 40 students will be there in the class. This is a one class, number of students will be 40, isn't it? So these 40 students will be different kinds of students. Name will be different, register number will be different, roll number will be different, their place will be different, size, color, vector, everything will be different only. But they are under one group that is called as a student. That's why we can tell class is a group of object. which is having common properties or common characteristics, isn't it? So that is known as class. The next we can come to the object point. So object is a real world entity like humans, cars and mobile phones, vehicles, whatever you are seeing outside, that's called as an object. So here when we are inside the classroom, student is an object and tables is an object, then shelves is an object, computer is an object and teacher is an object. So what are the things we are seeing inside the classroom, that is called as object, isn't it? So this is the major fact we are using in the object oriented programming concept, that is a class and object. So it's nothing, it's a so easy concept only. Class is, it defines a group of object, isn't it? So class is just like a frame. More easier example that is a very familiar in computer science, folder. So we already know, everyone knows how to create a folder. So what is the use of folder? So folder, when you open the folder, inside the folder number of files will be there, that is a group of files will be there. Each file is having, that is a different category. For example, if you are using paintbrush, it's a paintbrush is a application, it's a paint application. So one paint application will be there, one image will be there, one document will be there, one Excel file will be there, or one presentation will be there. So number of your personal files we are grouping and saving in a one particular folder, isn't it? That means it's a my document or my folder. When I am open my folder, inside that number of different category of files I am getting. That means the folder will be representing a group of number of different kinds of files. Each file is having their own type will be there, style will be there, size will be there, storage measurement will be there. So different category, each file is having their own different characters and behavior will be there, isn't it? So that is called as object. Each file we can consider is an object and the folder is known as a class. Understood? So class, again we can define, class is a group of, class defines to combines the group of object, isn't it? Number of objects we can get it and it will be combining it and somewhere else we are storing. The storage place is known as a class. Understood? So this concept is known as a class. And next again we can come back to the object concept. So when you are going to inside the class, what are the individual things we are seeing? So if it is a classroom, the student, each student we can consider as an object. Why? Because each student is having their own identifications will be there. That we already explained. Identification means the name will be different, okay, and the character will be different. Then height will be different, width will be different, and color will be different, and name, address, their house, whatever it is. So that belongs to one particular student. Everything will be different to one another. So this is called object. Each and every part of what we are seeing inside the class, that is known as object. So this is known as class and object. The next we can go for the example, how the classes will be working and how the object will be working we can see. So classes and objects. So here example will be the class. So it's a specify a group of objects. So here class, so 4 class I mentioned here on the board. The first class will be fruit. So class fruit, class vehicle, class trees, class flowers. So this all is having class names, isn't it? Then why it is called as class? The next object I have mentioned. So object we already explained, it's a different parts. It's a type of, 2 type of part of object will be there. So here object we can see 2 category of object. So based on the 2 category object we are classifying. The first category will be state of object. Second category will be behavior of object. So state of object means, so what are the major variables we are using in the programming? While doing the programming, so we need to store the data. That means the user will be inputting the data through the class only. So when you are going to inside the class, number of objects will be there. So with the help of that object we are storing the data or inputting the data. So directly it is not possible to input the data to the computer, any program. So what are the programs we are using? That is not possible, directly inputting the data. So some helping option we need, that is called as a variables. So variable means that previous class we already explained, it's just a alphabet letters only. So based on the data types, the variable will be working. So each variable is having number of data we can store. That means if it is a integer means we can store numerical value, character means we can store the alphabets, or decimal fraction number we can store float. So like that different category of variables will be there. So this variable is always belongs to object only. So that is the first type of object, state of object. So what kind of data we are going to store the object. So that is the state of object. The second one is of behavior object. Each variable is having different kinds of data. This entered or stored data, how can we execute it? How can we do the programming? So what kind of calculations they are doing? So what are the major execution we are doing? This all will be decided by behavior of object. It belongs to the methods or function. How to execute the program. For example, if you are doing the mathematical program to simplify the given algebraic expression. So if you are going to simplify the algebraic expression, some methodology will be there, some formulas you have to apply. After applying the formula, step by step executions will be there, isn't it? So this step by step execution or types of solving method, that is known as a method or functions. So that is the second part of object. So then let me come back to the class concept. It's as a class, this is a group. So class fruit will be there. So after getting the class fruit, how can we consider the object from the class? So here example I have given object of a class fruit. Okay. So if you consider the fruit, so what do you mean by fruit? Fruit is, it's a fruit only. So different kinds of fruit, that is the name of the fruit we can consider, size of the fruit we can consider, color of the fruit we can consider, and also price and what are the taste. This all will be a group of content. So fruit is a class. It's a fruit. It is a common for all the fruit. Fruit is a name. That means it's a particular word. So under the fruit, different types of fruits we can define. Example, fruit. We have given a heading fruits. So below that we are entering or inputting apple, orange, or different banana or strawberry, blueberry. So different kinds of fruits will be there, isn't it? So these different kinds of fruit considered as the common name will be fruit only. Then when we are considering the object of a fruit, each fruit we are considering. So apple, so different fruits will be there. So the name of the fruit will be apple, the taste of the fruit will be sweet, then color of the fruit will be red, the size of the fruit will be medium. So this particular thing is known as an object, isn't it? Color, name, taste, size. These four we can consider as a variable. So while inputting the data to the fruit class, under the fruit object, how we are entering the data? So enter the name of the fruit. We are entering the name apple. The next object will be of the fruit will be what is the color of the fruit? Color of the fruit will be apple. Red. The next size of the fruit, medium. The taste of the fruit will be sweet. So like that, each option is having their own subdivisions will be there. This subdivision is known as an object, isn't it? So this object is having two sections, state of object and behavior of object. So state of object means to storing the data, we are depending on some kind of alphabet, it's known as a variable. So name of the fruit, we are entering the name of the fruit apple, that should be stored in somewhere else. So that place we have to provide it and where you need to store it. So that place is known as a variable. So variable we can use any kind of alphabet. So based on the data it will be changed. If it is a numerical value, should use numerical data types. If it is a character value, should be used character data types. That means based on the object, the data types will be changed, isn't it? So based on the data type, we are entering and storing the data to the relevant variables. So this is called as object. So classes and objects. Once again I will repeat it. The major concept of object-oriented programming will be two. The first one is a class, second one is object. So both combinedly we are using. That means that when we are using the class, object must and should the object. There at least one object will be there in the class. Without object we cannot use the class. So class is nothing but just like a frame. That means it combines number of data together. Whenever we need, we are getting it and inputting data or displaying data or calculation we are doing. So whatever you want, you can do it and executing it with the help of object, isn't it? So the definition of the class will be, the class defines the common properties of object, and it is just a blueprint of object. That is also we can consider what will be exact definition only. Then object means, object is a real world entity. So what are the things we are seeing in the real world, that called as a object. Anything we can consider as object. So why it is called as object? Each and every object is having their own behavior and characteristics will be there. If myself, my name is different, my character is different. So I will be in a one particular group, common group, that is called as teacher. Under the teacher group, different teachers are there. Each teacher is having their own name, character, behavior, teaching style, everything will be different. Say different or individual person. So that is called as object, isn't it? So class, example of the class will be already explained. Class fruit. This is a group. Fruit is a group. This fruit is having number of objects will be there. That object will be defines the name of the fruit, color of the fruit, taste of the fruit, size of the fruit, this etc. It will be continued. So this is called as class and object. Okay. So the next one is object oriented. How the object oriented programming will be writing. So based on the uses of class and object, we can easily implement or easily we can develop a software or easily we can develop a program by using the object oriented programming concept. Then by using the object oriented programming to compare with the procedural language, it will be entirely different, because one by one we are considering. Procedural oriented programming, we already explained that entire information we have to gather from outside, then we have to start the developing. But object oriented programming is not like that. That we have to the previous example, we already explained annual day function, how we are going to conduct the annual day function. Exactly the same method we are adopting and implementing the object oriented method. So their classes will be there, objects will be there. So annual day we can consider as a C+ or Java program. Okay. So under the Java program, different classes are there. So each program, each classes we are considering as a formal program, informal program. So that is the first division of the program is known as a class. Each class is having their own under subdivisions will be there. That is called as object, isn't it? So each program, so which are the programs the students will be giving, that is called as object, isn't it? So that class dance is the 9th standard dance. It's a object. It's having their own number of students will be there, name of the students will be there, class of the students will be there, name of the program will be there. So these all object, isn't it? So common characters and a common behavior will be there. That is a class. When we are coming inside the class, it is individual object we can see. Each individual object is having their own characteristics and behaviors will be there, isn't it? So these are the major concept of object oriented programming language. So while writing the object oriented programming language, there is always the object oriented programming method will be such a big program only. So sometimes we are unable to complete it or we are unable to implement it. So that they wanted to find the solution. For that only they are given the concept of object oriented programming concept. So when we are following the object oriented programming concept, the program will be divided into small module, further divided into another subdivision. So each division we are considering, one by one we are considering. That means a modularity concept we are adopting to implement the object oriented programming. So that is the major advantages of object oriented programming language, modular concept, isn't it? So module wise we are doing. So big program will be divided by small segment. Each segment of a program is known as a single module. So we are considering one module. So that module is known as a class. Each class is having their own objects will be there. Each object is having their own number of group divisions will be there. So one by one we are considering. So that while doing this concept or when we are adopting this concept, we can easily develop a program. Easily we can find the errors. So what are the mistakes if you have done? Easily we can find it and we can recover it. We can find the solution and less error will come. Moreover, less error will come while writing the program to compare with the other programming concept. That's why it is the easiest method of programming language. Nowadays, everyone in the real world of software companies, corporate sector, computer programmers, software engineers, everyone is using object-oriented programming method only. So object-oriented programming method, it is a common concept. So under that, different kinds of languages we are using, isn't it? So in India, we can consider example will be states will be there. In India, number of states will be there. So each state will be under India only, but each state is having their own mother tongues will be there. That is a different Kannada, Tamil, Malayalam. So different mother tongues are there. So that is each state wise. So India is a class. It is having number of objects, that is known as a states, different states, isn't it? So each state is having their own activities, languages, and their own administration level will be there. That is known as a variables and state of object and behavior of object. That is, so India is a class. Number of states is an object. Each state is having their own activities. These activities is known as a state of object and behavior of object. Okay, hope you can understand the object-oriented programming concept, classes and object. So if you are having any doubt, you can contact with me through WhatsApp or my personal number. So that is providing in the group that you can access it. So notes and all, after end of the lesson, the notes, the printed notes, PDF file I will send you to. So application level, the computer application, always application level only, not from the question answer part. Much more question answer part is not there in the textbook. So completely it is application level only. From the lesson itself we have to find the answer, and first 2-3 chapter will be completely theoretical part only. The next lesson maths 85% lessons will be completely practical oriented only. That means we will give the questions and concept, you have to understand it, and you have to write your own programs with your idea. That means the output of all the students will be same, but the way of writing the program, your concept, your idea, that is entirely different. But the final output should be same. So you can use any method. That means each and every programming is having their own writing methods will be there. Rules and regulations or restrictions will be there. That should be followed. So after getting the idea of how to write the program, you are able to write, and you can use your own idea. So after end of the chapter, I will give the notes. The writing was a project and all, that is afterwards only we will start it. So no need to write the project works and all. Assignments will be there, that I will give the questions. What are the assignments you have to write. And after starting the programming, we are going to write the project works and all, or assignments and all. Okay. So further queries will be there. You can contact me. Thank you.